No way, guys. I am super excited because right now I am unboxing the new starter for the Audi A8. Technically, I'm not unboxing it because I've already taken it out and looked at it. But here we are, folks. Oh my gosh. It is going to be... Welcome back to today's video and today's vlog here on Budget Auto. I am Nate. Hope you guys are doing great. Hope you're having an amazing year. It has been absolutely wonderful for me. Today we're going to be working on the 1999 Audi A8 project car. We're going to put the starter in it. We're going to get everything back together. And of course I'm in good clothes with a dog down there eating my shoe. And so the next time you see me, we'll be with the car and I'll be in dirty clothes. If you guys know, I've been driving my F-150, my 2004 FX4 to work for about a month, and it's killing me because I'm running up the miles on my truck. This thing gets about 17 miles to the gallon. And so I'm super excited to hopefully be switching over to the Audi this week because it gets 27 miles to the gallon and I don't really care how many miles I put on it. If you guys have been following my channel, I'm working on a 1999 Audi A8 Quattro with the D2 body style as my yearly project car. And we've done a number on this thing. I mean, we've done head gaskets, we've done a timing belt job, put in a few other new components, and we got everything back together. The starter had gone out, or apparently I'd broken the starter as we put things back together. So unfortunately, we had to tear part of it back down to get into the starter. Got that out, got a new one ordered. As you saw, it's here today, and we're gonna be putting that back in today's video. So hopefully we're gonna be driving it soon, and hopefully at the end of today's video, we're gonna be starting that car up and running it. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoy this video. If you do, hit that like button. Subscribe to my channel if you guys haven't already, because I've got lots of great content to come on the Audi and on a few other vehicles here that you see around me. My shoes and my feet. Oh, Hank. So we're here with the Audi. Today we have three things that we need to accomplish. The first is we're going to pound out the dent right here on the side of the car. The second is the starter. And the third is the new coolant reservoir and of course new coolant to go back into the car once again. I am alone this morning, but hopefully that's not going to slow me down too much, although I'm already wondering where all of the bolts went for certain things. So I'm not one that's ever done body work before, or really a lot of it, in fact, if at all. So I don't really know what I'm doing, but I do know that I have three different hammers here. My rubber mallet, which we've used on the car quite a bit to get the cam sprockets and some other things off. This is going to help me start out and not damage anything. And then of course I've got the 2-pound dead blow hammer for when the rubber mallet's not seeming to get things done and the situation's getting a little bit more tense. And then finally, for when I am absolutely frustrated with everything, I'll turn it on to the maximum setting with my metal hammer here. The car is all aluminum, so I don't know what that means, but I hope that it's good to get this little dent out while we have the windshield washer fluid reservoir and all that stuff out of the road. I really have no idea what it's supposed to look like, so I'm probably going to go to the other side. But I think that this side's also dented. I actually think that that's helping quite a bit. Well, it's better. Hopefully that doesn't look too awful bad. It definitely cracked the paint a little bit, and it's not quite like this other side, but I think that it will clean up nicely and be a little project for later on. I've just got to find those dang bolts. I'm going to go ahead and get the starter in here, and we're going to try to put one bolt up just to make sure and see if it is the actual right one, and I guess I should check. Okay, so it looks like the bigger thick one goes on the top and back, and then the smaller one with the washer goes on the bottom. So this is a perfect fit, and with that said, I'm going to go ahead and try to get the first bottom bolt started. So just like that, we've got the new starter up onto the car. I thought it might be a little bit easier to see or to show you guys with the new one in place, but here's the new starter right here. You can see the nice shiny silver bit in the back. That bolt on the bottom I've got in. I've got to get one bolt on in the back, and then I'm going to go ahead and attach all of the wires to it. Now the starter might be on at that point, but we cannot run the car until we get the oil cooler mounted right here, and I wouldn't feel comfortable running or turning on the engine without the engine mounts in place. Yes, we might run it without putting the radiator or coolant into the car yet. I'm probably going to put the serpentine belt on. So yes, I do want to show you guys exactly what it is that I'm doing, but unfortunately I can't, simply because it's back in here too far and I'm only one person. If there was two people, I still don't think that you'd be able to see anything because it is really crammed back in here. So I'm trying to get the top bolt on. I may have to loosen the bottom one so that I can get the starter to wiggle slightly. That's hard because I can't see what I'm doing, and it's most mechanics and people that own this car, have worked on it, have done a starter replacement before, will tell you that you simply cannot get to the starter except through the subframe at the bottom, that you'll have to take your subframe off. And fortunately for us, that simply is not the case. It's not true at all. You can totally get into the starter from the front, and I think, or I personally think, that it's a lot less work and more convenient. So something that I'm doing right now is reaching the top bolt of the starter from above, because I feel like that's the only way that you can get your wrench in here to get the bolt on and off. So if you are doing a car like this, make sure you keep that in mind. I think it's easier to come from the front, and it's definitely easier to reach the top starter bolt from above, so you don't fiddle around with it for hours like my buddy and I did. We've taken everything off the front of the car. We've taken the oil cooler off the engine mount and bracket and this thingy here so that we can access just the starter, which is literally 2 bolts and about 4 connections that I'm going to be putting on right now. But if you guys are doing this repair, remove everything because it's so worth it. That way you can get to the bottom starter bolt, and then the top starter bolt, you want to get to it on the top. So I am going to take the GoPro in for a close-up, and hopefully you can see it, but there's the starter and the starter bolt on the bottom, and then that little hole there in the back that you've got to reach your hand up through to get the bolt that's on the other side of the starter itself. I'm going to go ahead and put all of the wires back on, and hopefully we get everything in place right so that we don't have to be tearing this car back apart. This cord has got to go right here onto the starter solenoid, but since a bunch of stuff go right here, we have to be super careful how we run it. And it's going to have to go back behind literally everything here. So if you look carefully, if you can see it at all, there's a spot here where an oil cooler bolt has to go through, but it hits this cable. So I'm going to have to be super careful and gentle about how I run this, because this is where I broke the solenoid bolt last time I was messing with it. So I've got the wires up there and I've loosely set this engine mount in place. I've had to lift up the engine quite a bit as well. I am super worried about this wire and getting the oil cooler into there, but we're going to tackle that hurdle when it comes. If I have to, I can loosen it and move it. But just so you guys know, don't get this super tight or you will break that bolt off. That's what I did the first time that I tightened this wire back onto the old starter, and that's why we're replacing it. Solenoid wire in the back, I'm honestly not sure how it doesn't rattle off or stays up there, but it goes up there and follows the other one down as well. These other 2 wires, they go down to the alternator. Either not on or it's not started. When you are tightening up bolts onto the block of this car, you have to remember that everything is solid aluminum, so you don't want to over torque anything. So if you're not torquing anything to spec, make sure you get it nice and tight, but don't do it overly tight, otherwise you'll end up just stripping the bolt out, and then you won't be anybody's friend. While I've got the engine lifted up and that off so it gives it even more room, I'm going to go ahead and try to put the oil cooler on, and then I'm going to come back and try to put on those bolts for the engine mount once we let everything down, and then we'll be pretty much done, or at least the car will be ready to run after I put a few more things on. When I'm doing a mechanic service like this, I try to keep everything as clean as possible. So if that means cleaning the bolts with brake cleaner when I have them out, I guess that's what I do. gosh, now it's stuck. Alright, so I've got the oil cooler back on, mostly. I've got that top bolt that's back. I'm now sitting on the tire because I've been working on this oil cooler for probably over 2 hours. I did get it in once, but I couldn't get the back bolt, so I've taken it all back apart. Or if you need to take your oil cooler off for any reason, even to do the starter, check out my other video. I go a little bit more in depth on that. It's 1:40. I started at about 10:30 this morning. I've really only put the starter on and the engine mount bracket. There we go. We've got the oil cooler, we've got the alternator, and that's pretty much all we put on. So after I do the engine mount and this other little bracket, we're going to give it a test crank to see if the car does turn over. I'm not going to start it, but we're going to give it a test crank, and if it does, then I'm going to go get coolant and put the front end back on, and then we're going to drive this beast for the first time in about a month. Yeah, super, super excited. So we've got everything on the car. We've got the serpentine belt, the alternator, everything is there for it to run. I'm going to go ahead and put this mount back on just in case. I've got everything put back on the car except for the air cleaner box, which I'm going to do right now. And then I'm going to throw the tire on and we're going to give it a test crank. I am in absolute utter shock right now and disbelief, because you guys will never believe what just happened. I got under the car to put some tape, electrical tape, over where we had tested the solenoid ignition wire before, and it pulled off or fell off of the starter when I had everything back together and ready to start. So I am not very happy at the moment with the car. I'm probably going to pull the air cleaner box off and see if I can't reach it up in there somehow. But I honestly don't think that there's any way to do it without getting the oil cooler back off. This is what I was afraid of when I was looking up there. I was remembering, like, how is it ever going to stay up there? So I think I'm going to get it up there somehow, and then I'm going to tape it onto the other wire so it does not fall down again. I mean, the car can't run or start without that wire, and it's right here dangling now. So yeah, I'm going to have to tear some of this stuff back off. I'm going to start with the air cleaner box and see if we can't see how to get into it. I don't even know what my plan of attack should be at this point. I have looked. There's no way to get my hand back in there. I think that everything's going to have to come back off of the car so that I can crimp that little end tighter so that I can tape it to the other wire so it doesn't fall down again. I'm going to try to leave some of this stuff on because, I mean, really I only need to get the oil cooler off enough so that I can get back into it. And the alternator is going to have to come down. Stay tuned. I hope you guys are enjoying the video more than I am at the moment. If you are, go ahead and like, subscribe to my channel, and be tenacious. Don't you ever give up, or don't ever stop. If you've got something that you want to do, go out and do it. Get it done. I'm going to go ahead and get started with my teardown. So what I'm having to do is go back in and plug that cable back in that fell down. This time I'm going to tape it to the other cable and I'm going to crimp it so it won't fall. It's down there. I'm not very happy right now to be doing this, but luckily I can get to it without having to take a whole ton of stuff back off. Okay, so for the moment of truth, I got that wire back on the starter. I taped it as good as I could one-handed in that little tiny small hole, crevice, whatever you want to call it, in the very back. I'm super excited now to give it a test crank. Yes, I know the oil cooler's not on or anything like that, so I'm not going to let the engine start or run away or anything like that. If I have to, I'll jump out in the back and grab the battery off, and here goes nothing. So that was our test crank. Yes, I have confirmed that the starter is good and it will crank the car. So now I'm going to go back and take the battery cable off, put everything back together one more time without knocking any cables off. Well guys, I'm back to where I started before that wire fell off the starter. I'm much happier now to have everything back together. Luckily, I only had to remove the hardest thing to remove, the oil cooler, once again. I really hope it does not leak when we get this car running. Well boys, we've done it. Everything's back together. We're gonna put coolant in the new reservoir. I'm gonna probably have to wire up the bumper again because it's still broken. And I'm super excited to see if it runs, if we blow up the engine, and if we have any leaks. I'm going to put coolant in. You guys have already watched me do that, so go check out my other videos. Corey's letting it off the jack stands. And then we're going to run this beast. So we are not running, but Corey's pulling me out on his four-wheeler. We figured that we might as well pull the car out before we try to start it for the first time, just in case it does catch on fire.
Yep, go for it. It started. Holy cow. Started. What'd we do? Turn it off.
It runs. We don't know how well it's running, but it runs. There's something rubbing for sure, sounds like. The car's running really rough, obviously. It sounds like something's rubbing, as you can hear. And I'm really hoping it's not the timing. If it is the timing, we're only off by like half a tooth somewhere, just a few degrees. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say. That's going to be kind of the ending point of today's vlog or today's video. I'm debating now whether or not I want to leave it here and work on it, if we want to haul it up to Burlington and let a more experienced mechanic take a look at it, or what we want to do. But it's been a really long day today. I got here at about 10:15 and it's currently 8:49, so it's almost 9 o'clock at night. I'm at a loss for words, honestly, with this car. But I'm hoping, and I know that we're going to get the Audi A8 running eventually. I was just really hoping to have it to drive. So with that said, if you guys like this video, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. If you guys have suggestions, go ahead and leave comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, go ahead and check out my previous videos, and stay tuned, subscribe if you haven't. That way you can stay tuned for future videos as well. And having all of that said, I'll catch you guys in the next one.
Next level.
And here's the boo-boo on the bumper. I think I actually just made it worse. Yep, I just cracked it.